have a reading from Matthew 6, verses 19 through 24. Do not store up your treasures on earth, where moth and rust can destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. Cannot serve both God and money.
Thank you, choir. That was absolutely beautiful. I don't even know if I need to preach now. No, let me open up with maybe a fun story for you. It's called Tulip Mania. Does anybody here like tulips? Yes, yeah, okay. Does anybody know where tulips come from? Wait, did somebody say? Holland. So, actually, tulips were originally made in the Turkish and the Ottoman Empire, and they were brought to Europe in the 1500s. And so, because of their unique color and their unique designs of the flower, they quickly became a status symbol for the wealthy and the powerful in Europe. They became so popular that in 1634, the Dutch Republic, also kind of known as the Netherlands today, they began to be used and traded as a form of currency. And so you could take a tulip bulb, and they were so popular at that time that you could trade them for artwork. You could take a tulip bulb, and there was some that were able to trade it for livestock. There was at a point where they could trade them for land and trade them for houses. And the biggest one was one tulip was traded for a luxury canal house in Amsterdam. One tulip. Wish it was like that today. But everything turned in 1637. In February of 1637, the demand for tulips plummeted, and almost overnight, the price of tulips vanished. And those people that had banked on tulips being the next biggest cryptocurrency that there was changed, and everything was vanished. Everything was gone. They had no money left. And I share that because Jesus is going to be challenging us in how we're building our life. A lot of times we pour our blood, our sweat, and our tears into the things of the economy of this world is what Jesus is going to be getting at. That we invest so much into the things of this world, and Jesus is warning us that at the end of it, what's it going to matter? That you can invest and you can come in and you can take a little bit of money now and we invest it because we want something in the future. We want a bigger return in the future. And Jesus is saying, what are you investing in? And then he's going to take it a step further and says, what has your heart? And all of this is going to be connected. But if we're not careful, we're going to build our life like that of Tulip Mania. Which is that we can go and we can bet our life, we can put our blood, our sweat, and our tears into the wrong things. And we can invest our life into the things that really don't matter, that when you get to the end of your life, you're going to look back and wish you had done so many things differently. And so for Jesus, he's coming along and he's getting you to question. He's laying that question at your feet and saying, what are you striving towards? And he's going to connect it at the very end to wealth. And it's not that wealth is a bad thing, it is the love of wealth. If wealth has your heart, then that's when the question starts to change. That's where Jesus starts to push back some. And so many times we can build our life on this wealth and saying that it is what provides me security, it is what provides me pleasure because I can go and buy anything that I want to, and we can easily start to pursue wealth. And if we're not careful, wealth will start to take our heart. And we will start to pursue things that do not honor God. And at the end of the day, like Tulip Mania, will not matter. And so Jesus is going to push back against this. Matthew 6, 19 to 21 is where we're going to start off. It says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Here you go, verse 21. For where your treasure is, where you're investing, where you're pouring into, that is where your heart is also. And so Jesus is laying this simple question in front of you. What are you investing in? Where are you taking your blood, sweat, and tears, and where are you pushing towards? Because wherever you're pushing towards, whatever you're motivated towards, is what your heart is bent to. And so we have to be careful. Jesus is warning us that we all too easily build our life on the economy of this world. That we all too easily buy into the American dream, that if I work hard and I invest, then at the end of the day, that I'll be good. And that I will have worked and my life will have meant something. And Jesus is pushing back and saying, whoa, be careful. What are you investing in? What is the thing that's going to last, not just for this life, but from this life to the next? What's going to make sure that it transfers not just for you today, but for the people tomorrow? What's going to transfer from this world into the new creation? And he says that's what you should be moving towards and pouring your blood, your sweat, and your tears into. But all too easily we start to focus on the wrong things. And so Jesus is going to open up with a riddle. So he comes back and he says, what has your heart? Where's your treasure? What are you working towards? And then he's going to give you a riddle for you to think about. And Jesus is a wisdom teacher. He wants you to walk away from his teachings thinking about the stuff that he has said. And so this is a part of that. Matthew 6:22-23 says, the eye is the lamp of the body, and if your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? What Jesus is doing is he's playing on how we perceive, we see. Now, today we know how we see. You have your eyes and they receive light. Light comes into your eyes, and then cones and all this stuff that I don't understand gives you the image that you're able to see. If we're not careful, we read that into this passage, but that's not how people back then thought that you saw. What they believed is that it was almost like your light was a flashlight, and that your light shot light off, and that is what allowed you to see. And so what Jesus is doing is he's not focusing in on what's coming into the body, not our understanding. It's not about the light that's coming in. Jesus is saying it's more important about what the light that is coming out. And so if you have your body, then whatever you're doing, whatever you're focused on, whatever you're seeing, that's got your attention. And you're either going to be bringing life into those circumstances and those situations and what you're doing, or you're going to be bringing darkness in. And Jesus is going to give a woe to us and a warning and saying, how great is that darkness? Because Jesus is reminding you that you were created for a purpose. You are made in the image of God. You are meant to further his kingdom, to be about other people. And when we get focused on ourselves, and when money becomes our motivator, or other things become our motivator, then instead of bringing light into the world, we bring darkness. And how great is that darkness? Because you were made for something bigger and better than just yourself. So for Jesus, what he's getting at is that your life and what you're doing, your eyes, become a window to the soul. Because it shows what's most important to you. So Jesus is now turning the question in this form of a riddle and saying, what are you pursuing? What is it when you go into any circumstance, any situation, whether that is you're at school or you're at work or you're with your friends or you're with family, are you bringing light into those situations or are you bringing darkness into those situations? Because what has your heart has you. In Proverbs 23:9, Jesus is going to pick up on this, but here's the idea. Proverbs 23:9, and he's talking about eyes. It says, the generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. Now that is us translating that from the Hebrew. In the Hebrew, the literal translation is the one who is good of eye will be blessed. The one who is good of eye is blessed, for they share their food with the poor. It's picking up on this idea that's laid down in Proverbs. Proverbs 23:6, do not eat the food of a begrudging host. Do not crave their delicacies. The top line is translated for us. The literal translation is, do not eat the food of somebody who has a bad eye. So Jesus is picking up these ideas and he's saying, what you do is a window to your soul and what has your heart. The thing that becomes a warning for us is that we all too easily get struck up into the economy of this world and we focus just on this life and we focus just on ourselves and our own happiness and our own security and our own pleasure. And so we never take a step further than what God ever intended us to be. We're too far content and too easily made happy with pursuing the things of this world. And he's warning you about how you're building your life and what you're investing in. Because you can get to the end of your life and look back and say, I did it all for nothing. I worked long hours, I invested in this way, and even though it gave me a return, it means nothing to me now. When I worked at ATDM, my last job, I was an admissions counselor for 2 of the programs. And one of them was called non-destructive testing. I'm not going to get into all of what that is and what that looks like, but for you to be able to go into that, you have to have good eyesight. And so as a student coming in, the instructors are going to evaluate your eyesight. So they give you an eye test, but they also are going to make sure that you are able to differentiate between different colors, that you're not colorblind. And so we had a gentleman that came through, and he was in his 30s, passed one of them, passed the eyesight, but then when they gave him the color test, he failed it. And he had to switch programs, but what was most distraught was not him just necessarily failing the test or him having to change into a different program. What was most distraught is that he had spent 30 years of his life not realizing he was colorblind. And so I share that because Jesus is coming in and he's teaching and he's asking this question because we can spend 30 years of our life not realizing that our eyes are actually dark, that we are colorblind to the wrong to the wrong things. That instead of building our life on Jesus, instead of investing into the things of this kingdom, we can spend our life tricked and really focused on the wrong things. And all Jesus is doing within this passage that follows the Lord's Prayer is he's setting a question constantly before you. He's just setting it in front of you in different ways. What has your heart? What are you investing in? How do you spend your day? What are you investing your energy into? Your physical energy, your emotional energy, your spiritual energy? Where are you spending and investing all of that? He's just giving that to you in different ways. Now look at Matthew 6:24. It says, do not serve, or no one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate this one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. The danger, I think, with this passage is that we don't take Jesus seriously with this. I know in my life, I try to serve 2 masters time and time again, where I feel like I can serve the things of this world, the economy of this world, and building wealth or focused in on any number of things, and then also try to give God 50% of my life as well. That I can do 50 and 50 and I'll be okay. And Jesus is saying that's not how it works. Because what's going to happen is that, from my own life, from my own experience, is that when I split my heart, when I try to serve 2 masters, God is always the one that's pushed out. When I am serving wealth, I get mad at God when He comes in and says that I have to tithe, or I have to help, or I have to do this or that. Or if I've given my heart to something else, and I view when God comes in and says, Bruce, you shouldn't do that, you can't do that, well then I'm mad at God because I feel like He's given me all these laws that I can and can't do. Instead of trusting Him, I'm filled with frustration and anger because I'm trying to do 2 masters at one time. But from my own experience, I've never seen it where you're able to do that. And if anything else has your heart, I guarantee that other thing's going to win out. And instead of trusting God, instead of leaning into Him, many times we pull away because we feel like God is a killjoy, or we feel like God's asking us to do things that are unfair, or that God is not being nice or kind to us, or that He doesn't love us because something else has our heart. Something else is holding that, and so you don't trust God in those moments. You don't feel like God has your best interests at heart because you would much rather build the economy of this world or wealth or whatever it is. Jesus is picking on wealth, but it can be anything. And so instead of trusting Jesus, we pull away. And so the thing that we need to walk away from is Jesus is laying a question and saying, what has your heart? What has your heart? But then he's going to go a little bit further and says you can't serve two masters. And I know in my own life, I all too easily fall into that trap. I all too easily try to follow two masters. And God can have my Wednesdays and my Sundays, but throughout the rest of my life, I'm trying to build something else. I'm trying to be about another kingdom. I'm trying to invest my treasures into other things. And what will eventually start to happen is that I will start to distrust God. And instead of loving Him, I'll be pushed back against Him. When I was in high school, I don't know if you know this, but I'm not athletic at all. But for 1 year, I played basketball. And while we were playing, there was this kid on our team, and he wasn't that great, didn't get to play a lot, and we were really beating this one team. And he got to come out. He was so excited. And so he comes out, and he rebounds over this guy that's like 2 feet taller than him, that's like 6'8". I don't even know how he's in like 9th or 10th grade, but there he is, 9th and 10th grade, 6'8". And he rebounds, gets the ball from him. And so as a team, we start to transition to offense. And so as we're moving to offense, going down the court so that we can score, to our horror, we turn back, and the kid jumps up and shoots and makes it into the goal for the wrong team. And in his excitement, he got a rebound, did excellent, but in his excitement, he got mixed up on whose team he was. And I share that because that's the question that Jesus is laying before us. Is that whatever has our heart, we try to serve two masters, and many times we think we can be serving God, but really we're serving something else. Many times we can get so excited, so focused on the wrong things, that we go up and we do a layup and score for the wrong team. Because something else has our heart. Something else is pressing the buttons and controlling us, and it's not Jesus. And so we have to be careful with what we're investing in and what we're spending time with. I'm not up here saying that you can't have fun or you can't do all of this. What I'm saying is, what is bringing you security and pleasure? Two things that we need in this life. Joy, happiness, and security. It's two things, two core emotions that have to be met. That's what has your heart. Now, I've gone through this whole sermon and I haven't told you what it means to invest into the things that are eternal. And Jesus says that we're either going to be playing to the rules of the world of this economy, or we're going to play into a heavenly economy. Now, we know the rules for this world. We know what it's like to invest and to focus just on this life. Jesus is going to come in and he's going to say, man, we need to be investing into the heavenly economy. And my question for you is, what is the one thing that we know without a shadow of a doubt that is going to be made from this creation when Jesus redoes everything and there's a new creation, a new heaven, and a new earth? What is the one thing that will go from this life to the next? It's people. Jesus is saying when you're building up treasures in heaven, it is not about building more gold or a bigger house or a bigger crown on your head. What Jesus is saying is the one thing that's going to transition from this life to the next life is going to be the people that you impact and the people that you touch. And so we can either spend all of our energy, all of our blood, all of our sweat, all of our tears, and invest into us and us only, or we can spend all of that energy investing into the things that will actually matter. The one thing that can be guaranteed that's going to go from this life to the next is the people around you. And so when we're investing, you don't know the small, nice thing that you do that might be one seed of generosity, how that seed will grow into things you cannot imagine. You don't know how when you invest and you say something nice, or you show kindness or mercy, or you go an extra mile for someone, or you love them in a different way, you don't know how that one seed can lead to a twofold, fivefold, 100-fold, 1,000-time-fold of that one act of generosity. And my prayer and my hope for you is that as you get into heaven, the new creation, the new earth, that maybe when you first get there, you don't realize the amount of seeds that you planted. But the longer you are there and the more people that come in after you, that they will point to you and say, man, because you were nice to me, because you forgave me, because you showed me kindness, I accepted Jesus. Or because you showed me kindness, I took the next step in my faith. But too many times we want to invest in the things of this world that will matter none, zero, when the new heavens and the new earth are created. Man, may we treasure Jesus and love him enough to where you are planting seeds of generosity that you will never, ever realize until you get to the other side of heaven. That your kindness and your love and your one nice thing that you said might completely change someone's life. So many times we want to build up and focus our lives on the big things, the big act of generosity. And while those things are maybe a seed that is a little bit more fertile, I know in my life, I have those moments, but it's also been the kindness and the love and the faithfulness and the mercy and the grace of people time after time after time have showed me, that have sustained me, that have brought me to this point today. So my question is what brings you security and pleasure? That's what treasure is. What brings you security, what brings you joy, because that's going to be where your treasure is. That's where your heart is. And so every week I challenge you, do not assume, me included, do not assume that it is Jesus. Jesus is turning to Israelite people that should make God their security and their pleasure. They are not. What is giving you security and pleasure right now? My next question is are you beginning to invest, not in this world, but in the people, in the world that is to come? As we close out, those are the two questions that I want to leave you with this week. What's amazing is that as Jesus is teaching this, he doesn't really give you an answer on how to make God your treasure. He just leaves you with this question. He's going to eventually get to it. But I know for me, there's times where I've got to force myself, where I've got to spend time with God, even in the days that I may not want to, because it sets my mind right and it makes sure that my heart belongs to him. Not into my circumstances or my situations, not into how Bruce is feeling in that day. I've got to spend time with Jesus. Because if I don't, I know that I will choose to invest my time, my energy into the wrong things. So let me pray for us. We're going to have a time of reflection. Again, I always encourage you, don't think about what's for lunch. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm tempted. I really want a Dr. Pepper right now. But try to set that on side and ask yourself, what are you investing into? What has your heart? And then I beg you, that I have sat with people that have meant a lot to me. And they have looked back at their life and they have said, man, I wish I had done this different. I wish I had done this different. No one comes in and says, man, I wish I worked more. I wish I had invested this more. What they come back and say is, I wish I'd spent more time with my family or my kids, or I wish I'd handled this situation differently. And it's always involving people, never stuff or never things. Let me pray for us, and then I will go from there. Jesus, God, we come to you, and Lord, I am sorry, and I'm sure everyone here is sorry for our sins. God, so many times we get it wrong. So many times we invest into the things of this world. We focus on this life only. We get so stressed out, so eat up, because we think this stuff really, really matters. And it might. But at the end of the day, it is your kingdom that is going to be the one thing that lasts from this world into the new one. And so, God, may we as an act of faith choose to invest in the people around us, to show love and kindness, to forgive, to show mercy and grace. God, give us the strength to do so. And Lord, at the end of the day, may you be our treasure. May you have our heart. May we serve you and trust you. Give us the strength to do so and root us in your love. Pray that you would be with everyone here, including myself. Help us to ask this question of what has our heart. And I ask these things in your name. Amen.